Are you back? Okay, very good. All right. So let's everybody under tab 2B or 3B, excuse me, for specialty level 2. So in regards to currently total of 16 hour or require, here, where am I? Total of 16 total hours, 16 practical and 16 procedures. So one of the things that we had talked about earlier in reduction is instead of doing the total 16 practical procedures, we could do 8 procedures, and I think going consistently with what Seth had said, maybe you could do let's see, how would we do that? 3 and 5, 3 observed, 5 performed. And then doing one of each of the different anatomies. For a total of 8 hours instead of 16, that's quite a reduction, however. Does she want to do like 4 and 6? For a total of 10 hours instead of 8. Go ahead, Jared. I can't hear you, hon. You're on mute.
Sorry, new here. So just for the female, we're talking, you know, on the level 2, when it comes to female piercings, we're just talking about through urethra. So we're talking, the only ones we're really talking about are Princess Albertina. Is Fourchette level 2 or is that 1? What are we talking about for female except for Princess Albertina?
I don't know them by those names, but we have below the hood, behind the clit, and female through the urethra.
Oh, triangle.
Triangle. Yeah, triangle, clitoris, and Princess Albertina.
Yeah. So unless you do triangle piercings, which I won't do, Princess Albertina is the only way I can teach someone and get them licensed.
No, that's not true.
You have to do a female.
Oh, well, yeah.
So you have to do a female. This is my specific point. When we only have the option of a triangle or a Princess Albertina, and you have to do one of those, it makes it almost impossible for someone to train someone level 2.
That's true.
That's my point that I've been trying to make this whole time. I finally realized how to word it.
Well, you just got to level 2. We were talking about level 1 before.
Correct. But it does fall in the same lines when you're doing male and female differences if you don't feel comfortable piercing them.
Yeah.
So if you did one type of each, so you're saying, Jared, you can get the specialty level 2 if you do the Princess Albertina?
What I'm saying is any high-end comparable piercer that does genital piercings has done amplangs and ophidrovias and deep shafts all day long, but they've never done a real clitoris, a Princess Albertina, or a triangle unless they're very, very specific with some very unique training in some very specific areas. It's way more uncommon with the female piercings than it is for the male piercings, at least on the West Coast.
So do you think that maybe on this level you have to do at least one of those 3 though? In the different anatomy?
I think you need to do one of the 3. I'm just wondering if the male-female is I definitely think you have to do one of the 3, of course, but I just don't know if the male-female separation is important in level 3 because I really don't see a lot of piercers teaching triangles or clitoris.
Okay, so, Jared, real quick.
Yeah.
So, I see what you're saying, but by eliminating the difference between male anatomy and female anatomy, and allowing somebody to get a level 2 license with only doing male anatomy, then that would, if you eliminated that, that would automatically make anybody that's licensed for level 2 be licensed to pierce triangles and things without any training at all. You see what I'm saying?
This is Sandy. Well, so I have a quick question. I'm trying to follow you guys. The way I'm reading specialty 2 is there is no distinction. If you read 2, 16 practical procedures includes 8 practical procedures which student observe and participate in any of the 3 different piercings listed in subsection 3. Mm-hmm. And subsection 3 does not list out specifics. It's penis,
specialty level. Exactly.
It's not divided by male, female.
No, it's not. You're right, Sammy.
Level 1.
Yeah, so we've moved past that at this level. So now, out of any of them, it's just the 3 different types. 3 different types out of these 8, and it could be in any of the 8.
Perfect. Completely misheard
But
you.
what I'm saying is the way it's worded now, it's just 3 of the different piercings. There's no limitation.
Yes, exactly, Sammy.
Were you wanting to add a limitation?
No.
No.
Then
Sorry.
here's how it is.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. I misinterpreted the beginning of the conversation with there being having to do 1 female, 1 male. I swear
Not
to
in specialty level.
That was my fault. Sorry, Jared.
Okay.
That was my fault.
Okay, cool. Yeah, then I 100% am on board the other way. Yeah, no.
So right now it's just a matter of how many, the actual number of procedures in specialty level 2 do you want them to have to perform. Mm-hmm. I think at least 3 different is a solid number. I think that's good for me. I kind of think that we should probably reduce the numbers a bit. I'm kind of cool with, honestly, me personally, I'm cool with splitting it 4 and 4, having it 8 procedures and having 4 observed and participated and 4 performed. But we could also do 6 and 6 or something, but I definitely think we should reduce this a bit because, I work in a high volume studio. I'm watching people go through this and this, the current numbers, we just don't do a lot of these things. And so, it's going to take people a year and a half to get through it at the current numbers. So, anybody have any other input on?
I'm all for, I agree, I'm all for that reducing, and the numbers in sense that seem a lot more attainable than what it's currently at.
So a total of 8 hours with 4 observed and 4 performed and 3 different types out of those 8 categories, no matter what it is.
Or maybe, yeah.
I love it. I think that's great.
Easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cherish, are you on board with that?
Yes, I am.
Okay, perfect. So the recommendation will be just as that, the total of 8 with the 4 and 4 for observation and performed and the 3 different types out of those 8 categories. Beautiful. Okay, so let's go on to the next item on the agenda, which is the examination. And each of you was sent an examination information bulletin. I'm going to pull mine out real quick.
Well, we have to go to a very secure email that was sent to us.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Was this sent via snail mail, or is that what was in the secure email? I had trouble getting into it. That's why I asked.
Snail mail. You were sent, I believe, that in snail mail as well.
Thank you.
I think it's the second to last page in all the documentation that I sent you, Cherish.
Perfect. Found it.
So, currently implemented initially in January of 2012, and it has not been revised since. There's currently 100 questions. And the questions are broken out into anatomy and physiology, cells, tissues, muscles, nervous system, circulatory, lymphatic, and integumentary. And then we talk about definitions, safety, sanitation, and infection control. There's 5 in definitions, 55 questions in safety and infection control, 12 in jewelry, implements, and equipment, 2 in training, examination, and licensure, and 3 in supervisory, and 2 in prohibitions. We revised that, and you have to have a 75% to pass. We source it out of the Oregon Revised Statutes, Oregon Administrative Rules, Barron-Zizi Anatomy and Physiology, and the APP, which has been updated since we did the sourcing, and I have had to change one question on the examination based on the language within the APP. The OSHA, and yeah, that's it. So what my suggestion is that we have a committee look at all of the specific questions. What I can do is I can go through those questions preliminarily and make any modifications, edits in regards to language, look to make sure the current sources are referenced, like the APP, definitely going to be some changes in that. And
I think that's smart.
And that way it will eliminate a lot of your guys' time. So basically you'll come to the table and say, I've done all these edits, and you can say, yay, I like them, no I don't, let's modify it a little bit, or I'm good with it and let's move on.
Your mic went.
Your mic just went away.
Oh. So, can you hear me now?
Sort of.
Nate, what happened? Hang on just a second.
What are they saying the problem is?
You can't hear me?
Can't hear you, friend, yeah.
Can't hear me, Nate.
Let me look and see.
My IT guy's on it. Hang on just a second.
There you go, yeah.
My IT's on it. Just a second.
There you go. Now you're up. Back
There you
up.
go.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what happened.
So take a quick delivery real quick. I'm so sorry I got assigned for a package.
No, that's fine.
Sorry, everyone.
No, you're fine.
We can't find the package. He's looking for it, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to step away, and you can keep talking for a second.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You can keep going, please.
So basically what I was saying is I'm going to do the preliminary work on the examination and then bring it back to the committee to save you a bunch of time. Are you guys okay with this committee moving forward as the qualification committee as a whole to review that examination? And are you willing to come to the table in person? And if I can do the MS Teams. But if I can't do MS Teams, are you willing to come to the table about once a month?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Hopefully we won't have to, you're okay with that as well, Cherish?
Yes, I am.
Okay, very good. My thoughts here are we'll report these training recommendations to the next board meeting, which I believe is coming up, I think in October. I just emailed the gal that coordinates those meetings, and then with that exam, the first meeting, I want to have everything done with that examination by the, I think it's February, March meeting in 2022, to implement by May, June of next year. So.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, well, that's what I will do, is I'll get working on that, and then we'll send notification. I'll send notification to you in regards to the next meeting date for that examination committee.
Cool.
And then are you guys comfortable with me just presenting the recommendations from the training programs today to the full board without having to see them again, or did you want to reconvene and look at those?
No, I'm okay.
I feel like we,
Yeah.
Okay.
Moving forward.
So the next meeting, April got back with me, the next meeting is in November for the board to meet, and that's when they'll look at all of this. And I'm trying to get the date for the 2022, but I presume it's February, March. So she's getting that date for me, so. But with that said, my piece in regards to education and training and exams is done, and so we'll pass it over to Sammy, if you're ready, Sam, to talk about the licensure pathways and opening up some doorways for individuals to obtain that training from other people in other states.
April 4th is the first that meeting in 2022.
Okay, April 4th? Okay, so
Yes.
we'll definitely have everything done by that and do probably an implementation date of July 1st of 2022. Unless I can get some stuff done sooner. And then,
Well, when these changes, I would have you approve proposed rules at the next meeting, and then we wouldn't be able to roll out permanent rules probably. We just did on the timeline you currently have, you approve permanent ones in April. And then you could have permanent ones, anything after that, unless you want to move it up sooner. Well, we'd have to have another meeting, the board would have to have another meeting, but there's that too.
so with the current training recommendations for the board at this next meeting in November, could they vote on those changes for the training program, Sam?
Yeah, they could vote on within the rule, we could have a proposed rule for them.
Okay, so then to give enough time for everybody, we could have January, February implementation date on the training programs?
Well, you'd have to wait for it to become a permanent rule. So if they approve the proposed in November, probably wouldn't do anything during the holidays, so January 1, we would do Oregon Bulletin, 28-day public comment. They have to meet again, so you have a permanent rule probably by March 31st.
Okay, everybody good with that?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hello?
all right.
Oh, so
Hello?
I'm just going to start with what you guys have talked about in order that we talked about it. So first off was having trainers from other states be allowed to supervise specialty 1 and 2 training. Now looking at that, seems simple enough. The things that concern me and that would concern the health licensing office and or other licensees in the state, many people, is that the requirement to be supervisors today is you have to hold the license of specialty 1 or 2. So we'd essentially be giving somebody from a state a pass that you don't need to hold this special license to supervise these people. So essentially essentially giving out-of-state people an upper hand over those people who may very well have all these piercings and never got the license because of X, Y, and Z reason, not enough places, not enough supervisors, but because they're out of state, they can supervise. So I don't know how to reconcile those two things to make it fair for those people in Oregon compared to those out of state. If you have some suggestions, I'd be happy to take them back to, Sylvie and the board, but I just don't know how you reconcile saying, hey, out-of-state people, you have a higher priority than you can go in Oregon, where you may be meeting the same problem of not being able to find a supervisor, but have done this before, but just can't find a place to do it. But we're not suggesting right out of state.
Why is there not a way to just make that even an even requirement? Is there a way that we can make like a specialty level 2 trainer more inclusive? I mean, it doesn't. Why does it have to be in? I know the way, because it's the way it's worded in law currently. But can we maybe look at wording it in a way that allows trainers to be from out of state also? You see what I'm saying? So
let's take Mr. Peck. Is that his name? Is that his name? Peck.
That's someone, yeah.
Jeff Peck, yeah.
That's very experienced. Let's take him for example. So he's in Oregon. He's got his license. He went through all the things. He does have a lot of experience doing these types of piercings, right? You guys said that.
I mean, he was previously licensed in Oregon to do these things.
Okay, but he's licensed in Oregon today. Now there's somebody over here in California with all this experience. We want to bring him in to be a trainer. So we reword this for him to be a trainer. Mr. Peck can't be because he doesn't have a license. But this trainer in California can. So I'm having a hard time reconciling how that would make
How do
any
you verify
sense.
that person's training?
I don't know. You tell me. How would you verify that?
But that was a hypothetical question. Yeah.
Right. We would verify it now because they have a license. I don't know how we verify it coming from another state. And then making it fair for Mr. Peck because we know have experience. But with the output, because we have a license in Oregon, you see what I'm saying? How I'm having a hard time reconciling what this is like in a rule and makes sense.
I have a question.
But I'm going to think about it. I'm just not sure how to do it.
So the thing that again, I think the thing that we have to recognize here is that the way that it currently is set up, it's not preventing rule breakers from breaking the rules. It is making it 10 times more difficult for the people that are trying to do things the right way to do things the right way. So I think that we need to figure out a way to help the people that are trying to do things the right way to do things the right way. And you see what I'm saying? I mean, there's always going to be people out there that are.
What we could do, here's a suggestion, a couple suggestions. One of the things is if they hold a license, a specialty license, or can provide verification in another state that they have licensing that includes these specialties, if there's other states that do that. And then the other thing is, what about the individuals that took, and I know I'm going to mess this up, the FACAR training? Fakir?
What I would say to that is the next piece I'm going to talk about, which is the reciprocal piece, which again, I'm having a hard time reconciling how we worked a long and tiresome on trying to get regular piercers a license from reciprocity in another state, when we know today still there's not a lot of licensing. And so we know that, and we said even if it's not substantially equivalent, there are some ways you can obtain this license. But it's specific, it has to be substantially equivalent. I'm not sure how I would take that, the way that's worded, substantially equivalent, and move it down to specialty piercing and reconcile that. I don't know how anybody would ever be substantially equivalent. I mean, I could certainly write it, but I don't know that anybody would ever meet it. So we could say it's for NPS, that's fine. I don't know that anybody would ever meet that substantial equivalency based on the way we have specialty 1 and 2 currently written. Now, if we did away with 1 and 2, that would be easy, anybody could do it. But we have said that these are special and these take special training and licensing, so we kind of have to adhere to what we've set as a standard. But we could use the secure one, that's a possibility. And you can actually tie it back to something specific. I could do something like that.
Like the fakir?
Yeah, that's possible.
I mean, at least it opens one door. It's an option. And then the license equivalency, I don't know about in the other states, what other individuals have. I haven't done any research in regards to to the other states. And then I can't imagine that if you're automatically a member of the APP that you have all those specialties. So that would not be a way. Aaron, did you have a question? Aaron, your hand was up first. We'll get to you next, Jared, okay?
Yeah, as far as being able to not only, I kind of think this could actually work for a couple of our problems, just using like as a, for instance, when the licensing changed in Oregon, how we were able to grandfather in by showing basically procedure proof as far as like consent forms, documentation, things like that, for us to grandfather in to get our specialty when the licensing changed. I think that something like that type of documentation not only could work for reciprocity or specialty licensing when somebody comes to Oregon, but also for documentation for somebody who would be qualified that's out of state to also provide this training for them to get their train to get approved as a trainer, to also provide the same documentation that all of us that do currently hold specialty licensing that were piercing prior to 2011 in Oregon provided. And that seems like just the kind of the straightest line to the goal that we're all kind of looking for, is to be able to provide, quality, reputable piercers that are knowledgeable to do these piercings, to come in from out of state and possibly even open another door to, saying, hey, this person from out of state that somebody in Oregon wants to train with for specialty 1, 2 is qualified. It's just kind of an idea, just because just the past precedent, that's just kind of the most simple solution that I could think of to possibly resolve some of these issues.
Mr. Sammy, I could do that, but what it would look like if I did it right now, it would look basically like me saying, you qualify to be a supervisor if you meet all of the requirements under the training program listed in whatever the rule is that has everything broken down. Are you meaning that person would have to have all of that? And then they can just prove all of that by way of client records or whatever you guys decide would be equivalent. Obviously,
notarized statement plus, copies of consent forms and things like that. I mean, I feel like there is a way, because we document so much in the studio day to day, and especially these piercers that would be qualified to be approved for reciprocity from another state, and be approved to be a trainer for specialty, should pretty much have this documentation kind of ready to go, I feel like, and then, I'm not a kind of logistics person myself, but I feel like, just like I said, it kind of, what my idea just kind of mirrors what, like, Jared and Steph and all of us that were performing these specialty piercings prior to the new regulation did to get grandfathered in for specialty license. That I feel like that's, like I said, kind of like just the as easy a solution as I could come up with.
And I could do that solution, but it wouldn't make, they wouldn't have, and I want you to know how far back they go in their client records from another state. So would it be forever? 10 years, 20 years, 5 years? Does it need to be exact? Do they have to have, 4 piercings out of 1, so 2 scrotum, 2 cranium, 2, I mean, because they're going to have to match what you've decided the training is in order to be equivalent.
Yeah, and that's kind of what it matched what we all grandfathered in when all this started. 2011, 2012, we had to produce that documentation that matched that most updated version of, the requirements for specialty. As far as putting a cap on number of years, I mean, honestly, you could if you wanted to, but as long as you're providing, that this person's obviously educated and has done X amount, matching, like I said, the training requirements, that you can document it with, at a minimum, consent forms, and then any other type of reasonable documentation that you could think of, possibly like, notarized statements from, X, Y, and Z, a person that originally trained, or, from a peer instructor or anything like that, if you wanted that too. But honestly, like I said, it was pretty much originally when we all got grandfathered in, we provided copies of the consent forms that matched the numbers on the requirement for the specialty trainee, and we got grandfathered in. So that's why I was looking for qualified piercers moving in from out of state to have that option, and to open up, if somebody wants to be a qualified trainer that is also out of state, that they could provide that same documentation, proving that they could obviously be a trainer in Oregon, hold that license in Oregon if they wanted to.
This is Kim. It definitely be easy for me to write as a rule for out-of-state supervisors. The piece that concerns me, I'll have to run up to change, is the reciprocity that always ties. Well, one, grandfathering implies that something's ending and something new is beginning, right? So we had a grandfathering clause in the original bill that said, this is ending, so for this amount of time, we're going to do this to get everybody in this new group. So, I mean, even though it could be similar, it's definitely not grandfathering. That is giving a special carte blanche to do special things at the special time, because this special thing is ending and this new thing is beginning. The problem that I only foresee problem in allowing this type of documentation would be the reciprocal license. And would we be allowed to use, because I'm assuming that the people who want to get the special license for wanting to glean from their regular license they have in another state, that we've allowed them to use to get their regular body piercing license, we're going to glean from that same license to allow them to give us client records for the specialty. I just need to reconcile that would be okay lawfully with the powers that be. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And that sounds like a problem with like legal technicality kind of that you're just explaining that you understand a lot more than I do, but yet in practical real world terms, it's I mean, honestly, an identical situation, you know what I mean? So that's why I was trying to apply that same concept of grandfathering, even though obviously the specific verbiage and specific precedent isn't like, completely parallel, that maybe we could work on something that is practical, that is also legal.
We're just looking for another pathway for out-of-state people that are already educated.
Well, the other reason we do reciprocity, I think, is there's no way to know, there's no practical written exams. There's no way to know that they even meet a standard, because there's nothing to test them out saying that they qualify. Just written paper, but there's no actual testing component. So that's why the board originally chose that we're not going to go that route. There's no testing in place to even determine if they are qualified. So it was at one point a stopgap measure to ensure that at least you're getting this training. We know that this training you guys have laid out over the past 10 years to know that you have the training to work on clients, but we're not going to test you out. But if we do allow you to come reciprocally with substantial equivalence or whatever documentation you have, we're going on a win that you have to know this information, but you're not going to pass the test. So,
well, I mean, they don't.
You can do that, but
I mean, you don't have to currently pass any exams for any specialty licenses currently going through the in-state program. So,
but what was ensured is that you've taken the training.
but if you're coming from out of state and getting a standard license, you're already going through the license. I mean, you're already going through the examinations, the written and practical exam for standards. So you do have that base competency exam. I don't necessarily think that you necessarily need an examination for specialty licenses.
I don't think that you do either. But what I'm saying is why we never approved your reciprocal license for specialty was because of that. That was one of the reasons is that there was no mechanism to determine that they qualify by exam. So what we did is you decided that we're just going to have this training in place, and they take the training and then they're good to go. But if we're going the reciprocal route, we aren't going to guarantee to have this training. I mean, it's really going to be based on, that they're telling us the truth on paper. And then you're going.
I mean, that's what it currently is now.
Well, no, they're going through a supervised trainer now. And if they're lying on paper, then there's definitely ways that they can get in trouble for falsifying an application. And if that's happening, that's a whole other bridge we need to get.
Yeah, I mean...
But if they falsify, Sammy, on the application coming from out of state, there are repercussions as well, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, falsifying documents, whether it be release forms or training paperwork, it's falsifying documents.
But if that's a whole other ball of wax. If we have supervisors who are falsifying documents, by all means, we probably need to know about that stuff.
I mean, I don't know anybody that's falsifying documents. I'm just saying that falsifying documents, that could be done either way. That's what I was pointing out. I don't know. I don't see that being a hurdle.
All right.
All right, well, I will take the speak for that.
Sammy, Cherish was trying to say something, hon.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Just really fast, since the concern is, it sounds like the concern is the potential to falsify documentation, or that it might be difficult to know that if we figuring out a way to allow reciprocity for genital piercings, or specialty level 1 or specialty level 2 piercings. If the concern is whether these people are performing the piercing adequately or something along those lines, what if there was, instead of an exam, there was like some sort of, like a fast-track kind of training program? So instead of going through doing 20, I think is what we just decided on, piercing specialty level 1, they had to perform like one of a few of those under an instructor before they were able to get their license. Would that be an option, or is that just further complicating things?
That's very further complicating things. I don't think by any means that an examination is necessary for specialty 1 and 2. I was just telling you why we didn't have the reciprocal license availability and application requirements originally. But I am in no way for a specialty 1 or 2 exam, nor would Sylvia ever approve that. And I think having a smaller version of specialty 1 and 2 would probably complicate things. I think I can write this. I just have to make sure Sylvie and the attorneys are okay with what we'd be proposing to the board.
Perfect. So, Sam, if you want to draft this up, and then you'll have language at that next board meeting in November?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. I think we're good, unless anybody has anything else. No? Jared, I want to point out one thing. Love Russell Wilson. Good job. Love your hat. And Seth, where'd your beard go?
Oh, yeah. COVID got it. Right?
Wow.
You used to be a lot bigger.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Also, I want to say one other thing, and sorry if I overstep my bounds. Seth, I just want to apologize for your loss. My heart goes out to you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
So what will happen is I will be in touch with you in regards to a schedule for our examination committee. And then these proposals, both Sammy and I will go to the board in November for vote. And if you can all listen in on the public phone line, unless we're back in, person again, which I, at this point, probably am not seeing will happen. But anyway, you guys can always call in. The reports are always available on our website in regards to the documents that I'll be presenting, and as well as Sam with issue statements and what your recommendations were. And then we'll just go from there.
Awesome. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you guys for all you do. Thanks. We'll talk soon, okay?
Have a good day.
You too.
A participant is now exiting.